Welcome to the David Toddcast. I can't tell you how excited I am by this Steelers performance today. This is as good as I've felt about the Steelers since I don't even know when. 2018. Somebody said to me on Twitter, maybe 2018 when the Steelers beat the Carolina Panthers on a Thursday night game. I do remember that game. It is a completely different feeling than obviously we had after the Steelers wins the first 2 weeks. And why? Because not only was the defense great today, again, the Steelers offense showed signs of life. Man, I'm jazzed. Also, this is take 2 of the podcast. Thanks for being with me to the David Toddcast. That is our working name now, and I'd appreciate your thoughts on that. I just did 30 minutes of this sitting here, and as I'm doing it on my iPhone recorded 4 minutes. So this is take 2, and hopefully it's as good or as enthusiastic or better than the first. I'm going to give you stream of consciousness because there were so many things going on this game that I was excited about. So let's just kind of go through it and where the Steelers were coming in at 2-0. And as we talked about, so many things I said on Friday turned out to be wrong. I said the Steelers, when Russell Wilson was healthy, the Steelers would definitely have to make the change to see what Russ could bring for this offense. Well, Justin Fields today, I think, answered that question of what he can do in the offense. And this is what was so exciting about today. There were questions, certainly I had questions about what we saw the first 2 weeks. Was it Mike Tomlin and Arthur Smith have a quarterback that they don't know a lot about? They have a quarterback in Fields who has shown a propensity to turn the ball over, both with a fumble and the interception, and they're on the road. So a conservative game plan, but it's hard to be critical, right? You can't be critical of the coaching staff. 2-0, boom, boom. Play 2 games, win 2 games on the road. That's the goal, right? So the goal isn't, as we talked about Friday, the goal isn't to necessarily develop the quarterback. The goal is to win the game and play within the quarterback that you have. Well, you know what we found out today? Maybe the Steelers have more in Justin Fields than we anticipated. Man, what a performance. Seriously, outstanding what we saw from this offense with both teams. Of course, the first 4 drives of the game, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. You wondered if it really was going to be 6-3 and what was going to happen. But like I said, I'm going to give you stream of consciousness kind of as we go through this. So let me talk about some plays with Justin Fields. And the first one was, if you remember, the Chargers scored to go up 7-0. And my thoughts were, you know what? This is a problem because the offense isn't moving the ball. I don't know that they can score 20 points in a game. And we just saw the Chargers have a really nice drive behind Justin Herbert, who's playing top 5 quarterback in the NFL, even though he might be a bit limited. Scary thing. Can the Steelers answer? And they did. They went right down and answered in a play that probably won't get a lot of attention. On 3rd down, he throws an out across the field to Scotty Miller with Asante Samuel playing corner. And that was a great throw. That's a long throw, an out, about as long a throw across the field as you'll see an NFL quarterback make. So there's a lot of time with the ball in the air. You got to put some zip on it. And he did, and give Scotty Miller credit. I like Scotty Miller. You know, we haven't seen much of him, but makes the catch, shakes off the tackle, and goes down the sideline for about 20 yards. And the Steelers are in position to kind of answer back with the score. The next Justin Fields play that was a beauty. How about the touchdown run? Perfect execution on a read option play. And I really give Arthur Smith credit for how the Steelers lined this play up. They had Darnell Washington not as an inline blocking tight end, but just split a couple yards out on that play. And you saw Justin Fields take the handoff. He has Najee coming through. The end, whoever it was, can't remember, goes crashing down toward Dan Moore as it looks like it's going to be a running play inside. Fields takes the ball away and skips into the end zone. And the reason that worked and it was so effective there is having Darnell Washington line up off the end meant because of last week and Darnell Washington of all players being the guy who scored the Steelers' only touchdown, the Chargers had to respect that. So they had kind of two guys lined up over him, and then he comes off the line and just buries the guy because now he's run blocking, and he buries the guy, and Fields goes in more or less untouched. So that was a huge play, two huge plays in the first half that gave us, gave me some confidence, and I think the Steelers some confidence that they could move the football. But what we saw and what was so fun about this game and what got me so excited is this was a complete ass kicking. The Steelers just absolutely dominated both lines of scrimmage in the second half, and they just wore them down. We talked about Jim Harbaugh coming in, playing Steeler type of football with the Chargers. We've seen this when he was in San Francisco. You saw it when he was in Michigan. Guy is a very good head coach, and he wants to play physical. He wants to be dominant on both lines of scrimmage, which is exactly what the Steelers want to do. The Chargers were able to do that in their first two games. Didn't play two very good teams. They played the Raiders. They played the Panthers, so they were able to impose their will on both of those teams. But the Steelers, physical on both sides of the ball, both teams, but you saw as things turned a little bit in the second half that the Steelers started to impose their will on both lines on the Chargers. So they go in down 10-7. Let me make a couple other points kind of on the end of the first half. Chris Boswell. I was a little surprised with 40 seconds left in the half. Chargers are up 10-7. They have a 3rd and 10 on about their own 40. And Jim Harbaugh decides to run the football. Okay, a couple things here. Chargers are going to punt to the Steelers. They're going to have the ball deep in their own territory with an offense that isn't known for taking chances, an offense that really doesn't want to turn the ball over and make mistakes. So, you know who I'm giving big points to here? Yeah, Mike Tomlin. Yeah, clock management. Steelers call timeout after stopping that run play, and the Chargers punt it. And it's just a little bit of time. I honestly thought, with Mike on these drives that start late in the half, deep in Steelers' own territory, he will run a draw play or a very conservative pass play. Well, they managed to get 9 yards and then a short pass, I think, to Najee to get a first down. And then they got a big play up to midfield. Now, it turns out the Steelers didn't score, but I loved the aggressiveness. I loved the willingness to take a little bit of a shot, which, is not the norm. And trotting Boz out for a 64-yarder. I thought he was going to make it. I really did. He has the leg to kick it that far. Obviously pushed it a little bit to the right, but it was he was disappointed clearly, but he was disappointed because he didn't kick it well. But I felt good about how the Steelers went into the half. Defensively, we saw Herbert. The guy's a top 5 quarterback. I think he's a star. He's the prototypical, the guy, 6'4", 225, mobile, can make all the throws. And you saw his experience and Joey Porter's inexperience on the Chargers touchdown. Short, I think it was 3rd and short, but he's got a route in the flat. He's got a short crosser. Safety comes up here. Joey jumps and passes Quentin Johnston on. Minka's the deep safety. There's not a chance in hell he's making it from where he was lined up to the sideline 15 yards down with Justin Herbert throwing a dart, and it was a perfect throw and a touchdown. But really, the Steelers were good in the first half. The second half, Steelers did everything right on both sides of the ball, special teams. Everything they did was outstanding. I'm going to take a short break here as I had a little bit of stream of consciousness. And since I did this podcast once, 20 minutes ago, I got to kind of make sure that what I just said in the first 7 minutes, I'm not repeating myself. So I'm going to take a break and tell you about my fridge. So on Friday, I told you that it is a disaster to have to move appliances, furniture in and out of my townhouse. And I'm sure many of the places that you live, if you don't have a $10 million mansion with French doors and whatever else to get things in and out, things in and out, then it's problematic. Well, problematic for me because any appliance or piece of furniture fits up the curved or angled stairwell that I have that's about this much wider than any piece of furniture or appliance or seat or chair or anything that might have to go in and out of your house. So Friday, I had two guys, these two Jamaican guys come in. They were awesome dudes. They come in trying to get the new fridge in, told you about it. They worked their ass off for 30 minutes. They got up to the top landing and they couldn't make the last turn. Just physically, they couldn't do it. The thing was too big. But there's a banister that goes down around my wall that's about 4 inches out from the wall. So they were done. That night, I take the banister off, put it downstairs. Two new guys come on Saturday. Now, I told you, two Jamaican guys, great. These two guys, not great. No idea what they're doing. Never take out their tape measure, blah, blah, blah. I think it's going to be relatively easy this time because the other guys almost made it and got it up to the kind of the top landing. These guys, not a chance, and tore the whole wall up. Literally, just hacking the whole thing up, corners in, terrible. So, third try this morning, 4 guys, and if they can't do it, it's going back. But these guys, love these guys. As the guy tells me, he said, we got the UN. You got the head of the group was a Puerto Rican. He's like, that guy's Dominican. And if you know your island nations, you know the Puerto Ricans and Dominicans don't always get along. These two guys, loving them. A Colombian guy and an American guy. 4 of them in and out, 45 minutes. They get it up, get it installed. So we are all good with the fridge, and it's on ice, just like the Steeler victory was today. So let's get to the second half. Steeler defense, again, the takeaway from this game is the Chargers came in and wanted to play Steeler football. They had been very good at it the first 2 weeks of the season. They have the better quarterback in the game who is a bit immobile because of an ankle injury, and they're going to see if they can impose their will on the road like the Steelers did. For the Steelers, my question was, now that they've got a home game, are we going to see them take the kid gloves off and open the offense up a little bit? And we saw in the first half that we talked about, we saw some nice plays by Justin Fields, and we saw him make some throws over the middle for a change. And we had a couple drops. George Pickens had one in his hands. I thought a very good play by the corner. Sometimes you got to tip your cap to the other guy. One to Pat that he didn't catch, but we saw the Steelers offense throwing the ball up the numbers inside the hash marks, doing some things that we didn't see much of the first 2 weeks. So I was excited about the opportunity here in the second half, even though the Steelers were down 10-7. Second half, what do you even say about the second half? Everything about the second half was A+ good. Across the board. I don't know if the Chargers had 50 yards of offense the second half. The Steelers scored 13 points. They could have punched it in at the end of the game and made it 20 points. They were efficient. The defense was outstanding. Let's just talk about a couple plays. And the biggest play, and you can see this on my, repeating myself, but if you follow me on Twitter, I go through the game as it's going on at David M. Todd. And I'll tell you, the second half, I was Nostradamus, kind of. It just started to show that the Steelers were dominating on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And I will tell you, the jinx that I put on Justin Fields, I said, man, it feels like Justin Fields making all the right reads, really accurate with his throws. The Steelers are moving the ball. I'm excited about what we see in the second half here. I hit send on the tweet. The next 7 seconds later, boom, throws it in a really tight window. Ball pops up in the air, juggled around. Bud Dupree, former Steeler, picks it off. I got immediately 50 responses of, delete your account, you're an asshole. Why do you say things on Twitter? Blah, blah, blah. Fortunately, I'm pretty sure I don't, or unfortunately, I don't have that power, but I did get a good laugh out of that. Steelers defense bailed out Justin Fields, and the offense, they bailed me out. And I got to stop as they did the whole second half. And from there on, it was the Justin Fields show. And the play of the game clearly was the pass to Calvin Austin. And I cannot tell you how good a throw that was. If you saw it, I'm sure you saw the replay, 2 replays that show kind of, you got it from behind Justin Fields. You could see what he saw and how tight that window was as he's got the Pickens clearing things out. You got the second guy coming behind. He knows where the safety is, and he's got a linebacker underneath. He's got to fit it right in that window, which is there for a half a second. That was. I mean, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, pick your Drew Brees, pick your quarterback. You can't throw it better than that. That's the window. That's where you had to put it. That's where he put it. A+. And that kind of set things in motion for the Steelers just to start rolling in the second half. And another guy who gets some credit on that is Calvin Austin. One is you saw the hands catch. It's a thing. You'll see guys body catch, particularly balls over the middle, because you're worried about getting killed. And he's going almost full speed. Another really important thing, if you want yak, yards after catch, hit the guy while he's moving and put it out in front of him. Perfect throw, great hands catch. Boom! Beep, beep. Roadrunner off to the races. And I want to give a hat tip to Calvin Austin here early in the season. One of the things that I have kind of imposed upon him is that he is not a physical player. That's wrong. I was wrong about that. We have seen in the first 3 games of the season that Calvin Austin is a physical player, that he is very capable in returning punts, and he is not shying away from contact. He is willing to stick his head in and try and get those last couple yards when things are closing down on him. And I think, you saw it, I think today, that he is a tough dude, and you just saw that, this is oh shit speed. When he turned the corner on catching that ball, those safeties had no chance. I mean, clearly, look, they're coming in and flat-footed, and they're going to turn their hips and go, so they're at a big disadvantage. But just outrunning guys for a 55-yard touchdown, and you know what it was? Da, 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 da. The Steelers used the middle of the field. I have been the priest of the middle of the field, the high priest. I've used the middle of the field for 10 years. You have to attack the middle of the field. You have to keep the defense honest. You have to keep the safeties honest. You have to make sure the linebackers have to drop so that they can't attack the line of scrimmage on the run game all the time. If you never attack the middle of the field, it is so easy to game plan against your defense. This does go back to that season when the Steelers were whatever it was, 18-19, when the Steelers were 11-0. This was the problem. The Ravens, I think, lost to the Steelers in a game, but they showed the blueprint for stopping the Steeler offense. Bring your linebackers up to the line of scrimmage because they're not going to attack you behind that. So there's no reason for them to have to take deep drops. And that just changed everything. They put that on paper, and the Steelers lost 4 of the last 5 regular season games. Nice job, Arthur. Nice job, Justin Fields. Nice job, Pat, Calvin, George, running routes over the middle of the field. It opened everything up. And then you saw the offensive line, the Steelers' run game kind of take control, and outstanding stuff. So the Steelers get that touchdown. Again, kind of stream of consciousness a bit, but Justin Fields doing the job. How about his numbers? He finished 25 of 32 for 245, a touchdown. First INT of the year, first turnover. Who would have bet Justin Fields? What was the over-under on 3 weeks? How about this? The very first offensive snap of the Steelers season. You'll remember kind of a bad exchange between Zach Frazier and Justin Fields results in a fumble and a 3-yard gain. Now here we are 3 weeks into the season. Who would have said the Steelers, Justin Fields would have the over-under if you had 1.5 was the over-under through 3 games, that it would be under. And you got Zach Fields, your rookie center, who Tony Romo is talking about on the broadcast as being a Pro Bowler. How about that for a dynamic setup for kind of what we thought maybe 15 days ago and where we are today? Man, am I excited about what they were doing. So the Steelers offense really started to move the ball. And as they say, they're beating the crap out of the Chargers defense. Jim wants to come in, play Steeler football in Acrisure Stadium. You know what? Steelers are like, yeah, we got that. Bring it. You want to play that stuff? We got that. And they imposed their will in the second half, both sides of the ball. And here's another guy that you heard me say another thing I got wrong on Friday. Cordero Patterson. I was like, right, you don't need to give the ball to Cordero Patterson. You got Najee, you got Jalen Warren. Why give it to Cordero Patterson? Man, is he a big physical runner. He's 6'2". The guy's, he's 30 years old, and he's still got it. He is tough. He caught a pass in the first half. I think he caught a pass. Let's see, make sure. Yeah. In fact, he caught 3 passes for 15 yards. But he did one on the sideline where he shook a tackler, and I was like, wow, that was an impressive turn-the-corner physical run out there. And he was getting some reps at wide receiver with Van Jefferson out, getting dinged in the eye. And then we saw in the second half, running between the tackles, running over guys. There was a third down, 3rd and 5+. Just ran through guys for 8 or 9 yards. Really impressive run. So hat tip to Cordero Patterson. So we got the big hat tip to Calvin Austin. We got to Cordero Patterson. Najee, some big runs late in the game. I love Najee. How about Najee lying down on the 1 yard line just to ensure the victory? This game was over. If he takes that in the end zone, which he could have done, nobody's complaining about that. You're already up 10. You're giving the ball, who cares? It's 27 to 10 instead of 20 to 10. But Najee, ever the team guy, ever thinking, they put it down. The Steelers run out the clock and kneel it. You know who wasn't happy about that? Everybody who had the over. Yeah, 36, 34 and a half, 36 and a half, whatever you got. I'll tell you what it wasn't. It wasn't 30, it wasn't 30, it wasn't 31. Finished at 30, and they scored a touchdown there. It's 37. So, I think it was brilliant what Najee did and humorous, and I would have been just fine if he scored. If you had an over-under bet on that game and you had the over, you are so pissed off right now. And if you had the under, you are one happy person. You got lucky. So excellent job moving the ball. Really nice stuff from the offense. Couldn't be more excited about it. The couple other big plays in this game. The Steelers scored I don't know which of the points they got in the second half, but Boz kicks it right down to the goal line. Perfect kick. Chargers decide to bring it out. You know who makes a play? Rodney Williams. This is a guy who got beat out in training camp for a roster spot by Michael Pruitt. Pruitt gets injured last week and is unavailable. So Rodney Williams gets elevated to the roster and plays, and he makes a superb special teams tackle that sets up the Chargers deep in their own territory, and sets up the Steelers for teeing off on the Chargers. And what we saw here in the second half from the Steelers defense, just physically dominating. Couple guys. How about Nate Herbig? Here's a guy, so we don't know the extent of Alex Highsmith's injury. He goes out, misses the second half with a groin pull. Let me tell you, again, with all these kind of muscle pulls, they're 3 to 4 week things. It's just the way they are. That's how long it takes. If you've got a real pull, look, if it's a strain, maybe you just miss one game. If it's a real pull, these are tears. And it's just what's the extent of the tear. So I expect Highsmith to be out, the next 3 or 4 games. Probably not an IR type of thing. If it is, that's even more serious, but we'll see what they do. But kudos to Nate Herbig. We've seen Nate Herbig in the preseason be crazy dominant. Let me remind you something about Nate Herbig. Here's a guy taken in the 4th round out of Wisconsin, and there was real questions about, is he going to be an inside guy? Is he going to be an outside guy? And the thought was, look, he's not big enough to be a factor on the defense. Excuse me, I keep saying Nate. It's obviously Nick Herbig, Nate, his brother, Steelers offensive lineman who's on IR. So Nick Herbig gets a chance at some extended playing time in the second half. And as I say, in the preseason, we've seen him do crazy stuff. It feels like every third time he gets a chance to rush the passer, he's getting a sack or getting pressure on the quarterback or whatever it is. Today, how about Herbig? 3 tackles, 3 solo tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 2 QB hits, obviously, and a forced fumble and a strip where he came around, textbook stuff. It was Herbert still in the game at that point, set up like this, comes around, does the karate chop right across the arms, ball comes free. Unfortunately for him, the Chargers recover. But a big play and very impressive stuff. And it'll be fun to watch him get some run now at right outside linebacker for the next couple weeks for the Steelers. Who else to mention on the defense? Cam Hayward, man, 35 years old, looks like he's 25 years old, as dominant as you can be. I was skeptical about any contract extension, and I think, as I said, I think the extension the Steelers gave him is exactly right. There's no real guaranteed money. But if he plays like this, play forever. I mean, that was superb stuff. And that line of Keanu Benton, Larry O, and Cam is really doing a great job. The Chargers got some yards in the first half with the running game, but nothing in the second half. I don't know the Chargers had 50 total yards in the second half and 0 in the passing game. I mean, just across the board, outstanding stuff from the Steelers. Landon Roberts, a thumper, willing to stick his head in there, did some really good stuff. Patrick Queen, 8 tackles today. We talked about game 1. He only had 2 tackles. He had 4 solos today. He is not the physical run stopper that a Landon Roberts is, but really good stuff from him. TJ Watt, a little bit quiet, drew the holding call on Joe Alt in the first half, but in the second half, there's a really big moment. I can't remember exactly what the down distance was, but needed a big play from the defense. Boom. TJ coming in, gets Justin Herbert. Superb. And as you see, as Romo talked about in the television broadcast, the Chargers were spending a lot of time and energy focusing on Watt to try to make him not the guy who was a complete game wrecker, as we saw in week 1. And what that does is that leaves room on the other side for Alex Highsmith, for Nick Herbig, who's ever in there, and the other guys to make plays. And they did make plays. Cam had a sack. Landon Roberts had a sack. Just outstanding stuff. Another guy deserves some credit, Deshaun Elliott. I maybe undersold what he was bringing to the defense at the start of the season. 3 weeks in, that guy has been outstanding, anchoring the back line, along with Dante Jackson. I talked about Minka and Joey Porter being the guys back there with big question marks around them. Those 2 guys, first 3 weeks of the season, they've been excellent. So kudos to them. Offensive line, I'm going to go back to the offensive line. I did mention the fact that we talked about the things I was wrong about on Friday's podcast. How about this one? Saying Troy Fautanu would put him in ink as the Steelers' right tackle for the next 10 seasons. You know, there he is, locked and loaded, started that game in Denver. He's going to be your guy. That prediction was good for, I wanted it to be 10 years. It was good for 18 hours. Tears up his knee in practice on Friday, and Broderick Jones is now the guy back at right tackle. Unfortunate for Fautanu, we're not going to probably see him again this season. But, you know, as Mike likes to say, opportunity, next man up. I think Broderick Jones had a little bit of a tough go early in the game. But, man, that Steelers offensive line, they got things done in the second half. Just grinding the ball. They needed a long drive to close the game out. Boom, boom, boom. Physically dominating. Was interesting, note on that offensive line, we talked about how good Zach Frazier's been. Next to him, Spencer Anderson. And we saw McCormick, the Steelers' 6th round pick, and Spencer Anderson, I think more or less splitting time starting toward the end of the first half. And I don't know, I would assume that would be, you know, if it wasn't at all injury related, and it didn't look like it because Anderson was in and out of the game, I would assume that's performance related. And you don't see teams alternate offensive alignment. So probably a comment on, not a positive comment on Spencer Anderson's play, maybe a comment on what they've seen from McCormick in practice and what he can do. And clearly better, much better from the Steelers in terms of, you know, imposing their will in the second half of this game. So, you know how many teams in the NFL right now are undefeated? 5. That's before 3 of the teams played this afternoon in the late games. But Steelers and the Vikings, the only teams 3-0. And the Browns lost at 1 o'clock. So the Steelers are now in a 14-game season where they have a 2-game lead, at least, on everybody else in the division. Again, I can't tell you what an ass-kicking it was and how enthusiastic I am about this performance, you know, across the board. Defense is what we've seen the first 2 weeks. We saw more of today. And I don't know if, you know, are they the best defense in the NFL? They're the third best defense. I don't know. They're a top 5 defense. But what we saw today was an offense that gives me hope that they can go out and score 20 plus points and, make teams defend them all over the field. They're going to have to go to Indy, who got a win today against the Bears. Indy's an average football team. Then they get the Cowboys at home. But man, this is a big step forward from what we've seen. And I probably am not going to confuse Justin Wilson Fields, Russ Fields, will get the names screwed up like I think I did the first couple of weeks, because Justin Fields is going to be the quarterback. Again, I said on Friday that Mike had to play Russ when he was healthy to see what he had to expand the offense. But today we saw Justin Fields expand the offense and really kind of move the ball, make good decisions with the football, throw the football accurately, all the things you want out of the quarterback. And I saw him talk in the postgame show about that throw to Calvin Austin. It's always, I think, impressive to hear guys talk about what they see, and because they're professionals, they should know what they see, what they how it went. He just asked a question about the touchdown pass, knew exactly who he saw where, who was running what route, what the window was, making the pass, and then giving the credit to the receiver Austin for the catch in the yak after the play. Gives me great confidence that he's comfortable with what he's doing out there. So Steelers are 3-0. I would not have bet on that to start the season. I think my thought was if the Steelers got through week 5, Indy and Dallas the next 2 weeks, and they were 3-2, that'd be a good start to the season, kind of settle in and reevaluate. Now, the Steelers a top 10 team in the NFL? Damn right they are. If the Steelers show offensive capability like they did today, this is a team that can play with anybody. And I mean play with anybody. Because that defense is outstanding. And if you give them a lead, they get that much better. So, effusive. Again, I did this once, so if it's repetitive, I apologize. I appreciate you watching. We've got things to work out here on the podcast. Tell me if you could like and comment on YouTube and on Twitter. That would be great. If you could like it on Twitter. We're trying to, I will get the distribution sorted out so that it is on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all those things. I just wanted to get a couple of these under my belt so that I got comfortable with it before we tried to expand it and push it out a little bit bigger. But please share with your friends. Please, if you have a minute in YouTube and get any comments that you have, any questions you want me, or topics you'd like me to talk about, I'd appreciate it. Thanks for checking it out, man. I am excited. Steelers, 20-10 winners over the Los Angeles Chargers, 3-0. Who would have thought? Game ball to Justin Fields and the Steelers offense, and another great performance by the Steelers defense. Thanks for checking it out. We'll be back during the week.